The Bethesda showcase leaks. I am so excited to see the lowest production quality ever seen in gaming. It's gonna be great.
Verge also had a leak featuring dates for not just Starfield, but Indiana Jones, which you can kind of start to mark on your calendar.
Indiana Jones is gonna be an absolute unquestionable disaster. Have you seen the trailer? It is bad, okay? People are gonna whip attack an enemy, hit the leg, and then it's gonna magically take them by the arm. It's gonna be bad. This is gonna be hugely a disaster.
We have Starfield getting an expansion in September in Shattered
Starfield's the most anticipated thing I honestly want to see.
Space, which we already assumed it was coming out this year, but that'll mark it as 1 year from the game's original launch. And then Indiana Jones is currently set to release in December, which I am wondering if that's going to hold. There are games, high-profile games, that have released in December. I think of Smash Bros. Ultimate, I think of Halo Infinite, if you want an Xbox example. I think of High on Life, which I know isn't like a big popping game like of a platform holder, but it was a game that did really well in December. So I feel like December is less and less becoming a
well, December's something where people are gonna buy it as a gift, so it does make sense. And putting something in December that's probably gonna be a disaster otherwise, especially like Indiana Jones. But half of the time you're not gonna be playing as even Indy. You're gonna be playing as the true Indiana Jones, aka the Phoebe Waller-Bridge character. You know, it's gonna be great. Who does not want to have an Indiana Jones game where you're playing as a short-haired, ugly woman who is stronger than every man and beat people up? It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. And also, she's gonna save Indy constantly because he's an old, useless kook at this point. Ah, how far have we fallen?
Risky month, so I could see them sticking to it here with Indiana Jones. Certainly, we all feel it's time to see something from Machine Games when it comes to a release. It's been since Wolfenstein Youngblood, which was really a co-developed effort. One thing we learned with
Wolfenstein Youngblood was also a complete shit show. Nice.
The Starfield May update is that this expansion will be based around House Faroon. This was confirmed on the bottom right corner of a screen where you can see it mentioned in some of the code and assets listed in the game.
You know what's the funniest thing about House Faroon? It is the best part of the lore, and it's the part of the lore that people like the most. So, obviously, Bethesda is gonna put in the thing in the expansion that people like the most. But, you see, the thing is, people like House Faroon from Starfield the most because it doesn't have lore. It's just this powerful House Varun thing that no one knows what it stands for, no one really understands, and we never interact with. Because the game is so bad in general, something like that has zero explanations actually seems kind of appealing at this point. So, now, it's the most popular thing because it's just mysticky, and it has not been botched up yet. So now they're gonna obviously put it into the DLC, and it's gonna be botched up because the DLC is made by the same guy who made the original dialogue for this game. You know, the dialogue that everyone on average describes as 70 IQ going into overdrive to try and create art. It's not good. Not good at all.
Game. To me, as someone who loves Andreja in Starfield, this is music to my ears. I am absolutely stoked to learn more about this faction, hopefully make more of a, if you will, face-to-face encounter. So very, very pumped about that. Curious to see where they go with the story, the exploration, and I do anticipate them
What story? What exploration?
highlighting new free updates on the way for the rest of the year. I feel like if you want Starfield to really get on its feet and start running again, you need to ensure that it's really coming out swinging hard. I mean, not just the expansion showing out and doing well, but the feeling of updates and the expansion addressing concerns, really showing out with modding, dating things.
We already know that none of those things are happening. In a year's time, what have we gotten for the updates from Bethesda to Starfield? Let's see. Modders giving up because the game is just too stupid to mod, while Todd Howard is lying about it being the greatest modding game ever released, which is a blatant lie. But then again, Todd Howard lies about everything. Let's see what else do we have. Oh yeah, an FOV slider after 3 months of development by 200 people working on the game. And then, is the eat button finally in the game, actually? I'm not sure. But the eat button that took roughly a year. Yeah, it's all really impressive stuff and updates that people really care. Obviously, none of this addresses the horrible gameplay, the non existing story, the non existing exploration, the problem with the fact that on average you have to deal with 4 to 5 loading screens in a row if you're unironically playing this game, and so much more. So much more. The talent point system's bad, no maps. I mean, they're gonna add maps, but maps are gonna just open the eyes of more Starfield players just to show how nothing really exists in this game. Because when you open the map, you instantaneously understand, like, oh wow, this is small. This is disappointingly small, actually. Wow.
What's going to arrive for the rest of the year, like really setting the table for a second half push from Starfield. With the May update, which we'll cover later this week, it looks to be adding a lot of great stuff in the mix. And so I anticipate that they're going to detail some sort of updates coming to Starfield later in the year alongside the expansion showcase. Like, it's not just going to be, hey, here's this, but here's vehicles, here's exploration, here's this, here's that, and so on and so forth. This report from The Verge also mentions that Xbox will be showing off some of its 2020.
By the way, that sounds way too much for Starfield. Again, the updates have been shit.
Lineup, so I don't think there should be a worry of limits when it comes to announcements. That's important because we need to talk about Fallout. There are things that we know about Fallout that have been leaked. There are certain Fallout products that have picked up a lot of steam, and obviously after the Fallout TV show, the franchise is in the best spot it has ever been when it comes to popularity. It is time to cash in and put out a new Fallout game. What's the most likely one? Look, I have to say it again. I know I say it every year, so I apologize, but I do think this has to be the Fallout 3 remaster. You know, you see it leaked. It said it was coming out in 2024. We know some of these projects got canceled. You know, we see things on the FTC document from Arcane Austin, Tango Gameworks that are no longer going to happen. I don't know about y'all. I find it kind of tough to stomach. I mean, granted, I'm a huge fan of Fallout, but I find it
Fallout 3 is overrated for the most part. It's kind of not that great.
Tough to stomach from a business standpoint that they would just walk away from a Fallout 3 remaster. Feel like that's kind of easy money every single day of the week, and especially now. Why wouldn't you at least announce it? I think even if it's not arriving sometime this year, you can still show it off. I don't think you get something like a New Vegas 2. I don't think you get something like a Fallout 5 title card. Like, I don't think you're gonna get any of those, like a new Fallout project. I think it's too soon for that based on what we've heard from Todd Howard, where they're just starting to really expedite things. But
thankfully, Todd Howard is not responsible for these decisions. It is Xbox. And, well, Xbox made the Fallout TV show. Todd Howard probably did not want that. And now that that TV show has pushed Fallout a lot up, because, you know, as a show, it's pretty bad. It's a 5 out of 10. Worth watching if you're bored, but, you know, nothing special. It's extremely stupid, and if you rewatch it, then, well, even if you have only 2 brain cells, you're gonna be like, oh wow, this show is actually really bad. That's just the reality. No one who has watched this show 2 times in a row is saying that it's good. Okay? Not even the most stowed fans, because the plot holes become so blatantly visible on the second watch through. They should be, by the way, visible on the first one already, but you know, for each their own. In any case, Bethesda is most likely going to push a Fallout. The faster they push it, the more hype kind of survives. They're probably going to try and time it with the next TV show season, because Fallout TV show is getting a second season.
But I think a Fallout 3 remaster, presumably in the works, if we're to believe an FTC document leak, should be ready to go by this point in time. The question is, do they release it this year? Does it interfere with what's going on with Starfield Shattered Space? How much does Xbox want to cram into the second half of the year, where they're kind of setting themselves up for another 2021-like push where nothing really happening in the front half, except here we have Hellblade 2 coming up very shortly. But the end
oh god, Hellblade 2 is going to be a woke disaster. We have a pagan woman with 15 times more dreads than, anyone ever in the modern days, even. And she's gonna be slaughtering men that are physically way more capable than her by the thousands. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great, boys.
Shortly. But at the end of that year, you had like Psychonauts 2, Age of Empires 4, you had Halo Infinite, you had Forza Horizon 5, like it was back to back to back. And I know Xbox wants to spread that stuff out. So I'm curious if they put 2 BGS products in the back half of the year, since that's one of the companies that's remained mostly untouched throughout all of these giant changes, because it's likely the cash cow in the Bethesda family for Xbox. And you also got to wonder, with the popularity of Fallout 76, the Skyline Valley update, do you bring 76 to the big stage? I mean, the public's kind of ready for it. There's been a turnaround on the optics for 76, which is not something.
No, there has not been a turnaround on the optics of 76. People still view it as an absolute disgraceful disaster. There's no amount of patches that's going to change that.
Something I ever anticipated happening, but I am thrilled to see people are really taking to this game, and I'm super stoked for Skyline Valley to come out. That is something I will be covering on the channel, because I am actually so excited. I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm actually so excited for it that I saw a developer video, and I watched, I think Lone talked about it in one of his videos, and when I peeped both of them out, I tabbed out early because I went, this looks so good. Like, I don't want to spoil this for myself, and I've never felt that with 76. So I'm really keen on this update. Probably the first time I felt this keen for an update in the game since Wastelanders. So I really hope it delivers. But I could imagine 76 maybe having a statement on the stage about what's to come for the rest of the year. You know, again, you have the most players on this game it has ever seen. It's widely accepted now. People have forgave it for its sins. Maybe it's time to come out and say, like, here's what we're...
No. 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 No.
We're planning. Here's our next big swing.
No.
Especially if we have...
It's not even close to that.
And I know this has been a running theory of mine for a while. You had the leak of DuPont Circle appearing in Fallout 76. And I wonder if you have this crossover of, here's the Fallout 3 remaster, and by the way, we're bringing Fallout 3 to 76 in this fun way, and sort of do this cross promotion that makes sense for you. Kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I think that would work. I think it makes a lot of sense. We'll see if they actually go ahead and do it. The other monkey wrench you kind of throw in there is the Oblivion remake, which, if we're to believe leaks from...
Oh my god, another disaster. Oblivion, again, I have said this once, I'll say it a billion times again. Oblivion is one of those games that's great in your memory. I didn't play Oblivion, I played Morrowind, but effectively it's almost the same thing. And you don't want a remake of that. It is unacceptable by modern game standards. It's not acceptable by what we expect from games at all. Oblivion is going to be a failure remastered. They can't just remaster it. They need to change a lot of the core mechanics in Oblivion to make people actually play it.
Reddit, which then lined up with leaks from Xbox's own documents. Yeah, an Oblivion remake is on the way, and it's potentially at the end of this year or the start of next year. And if, according to what we saw in the FTC document, Fallout 3 remaster is also due out sometime in this year, and even if you push it back a little bit to next year, how do you spread these out? What comes first? What's too much? Because now you have an interesting situation of a Starfield expansion, Oblivion remake, and a Fallout 3 remaster all at once. And I mean, if they all come out around the same time, I'm not going to be complaining. I will be swimming in that BGS content. You already know how I'll be feeling, right? Because this is stuff we have been begging for a while. However, it's also good to spread the wealth. I think, again, from a fan standpoint, like, the problem we're having is being able to have enough time to play all these things. But also from the business standpoint, you kind of want to make sure you spread the wealth. And so I'm not advocating that they just hold the Oblivion remake for a long while just because, you know, it's good for the business. But I mean, it might be good for consumers just to have time to play these humongous games, these humongous expansions at different points throughout the year instead of just all at once. So I'm very curious to see if all of these get announced, because they all seem to be synchronizing around the same timing. And oh man, would I lose my mind if in the same showcase of an Oblivion remake, you get a Fallout 3 remaster, and of course, knowing Starfield's definitely going to be there. That's an exciting showcase for me already. I don't need anything else at that point in time. Next thing is Hi-Fi Rush getting ported to Switch. The report right now, according to Eurogamer, is that
Who cares?
Hi-Fi Rush will launch on Nintendo Switch 2. I'm curious if Xbox is going to sit down and talk about PlayStation and Switch games at all on their own stage. We already know Nintendo's having their own Direct in June, so I feel like you can throw Hi-Fi Rush in there, especially if we're already seeing Summer Games Fest is going to be where Doom shows up, so Xbox can kind of put these other announcements in different places. But yeah, this one's going to sting. This is going to twist the knife a little bit. This is not going to look good for Xbox, but I do think Hi-Fi Rush is going to do very well on Switch. I've always said this feels like the perfect system for this game, and I could see fans really taking to it. And again, I've always said that Xbox is going to deeply regret shutting down Tango, and I think it could sneak up on.
Why? Why? Man, the Hi-Fi Rush situation is still just kind of mind-boggling to me. Oh, they sold more than expected, but they failed on every other metric. It's a success. What? No, selling more copies than expected, but failing at everything else is not a success. Oh my lord. Man, but people are going to be mad about Hi-Fi Rush forever.
On them quicker than they imagine if Hi-Fi Rush does really well on presumably Switch 2, but I don't know if that's something they announce on their own showcase, but still another Bethesda related announcement that's been reported before. And so that's where we kind of stand with Bethesda. Is it possible we see some of these mobile games that they're in love with at the team? Maybe. I think that could also be something they show off, but
oh boy, getting excited over a shitty mobile game. Count me in, Chief. I am so sold and yay. No, how about no? Maddie, you can be a shill all you want, okay? That's fine, but at least don't shill for the mobile games. That's kind of like omega pathetic. Anyway, that was Mr. Maddie Plays. Great update. A lot of stuff. Man, it's gonna be a wild year for Bethesda failures. 10 out of 10. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.